Welcome to the hearing officer meeting for Tuesday, December 19th, 2017. Today's meeting is called to order. Good afternoon. My name is David Williams, and I'm the City of Tempe's hearing officer. The City of Tempe hearing officer is authorized by Arizona Revised Statutes and the City of Tempe Zoning and Development Code and has the duty to carry out the provisions and intent of the city's adopted general plan and zoning and development code. The hearing officer is granted the authority to conduct public hearings to review and either approve, continue, deny, or approve with conditions 3 types of cases, including use permits, variances, and property abatements. On today's agenda, for example, we have 5 items that will be heard for possible decision, including a set of our meeting minutes, 1 the property abatement case, a variance case, 1 use permit standard request, and 1 use permit regular request. In case you are here for any of the following items that were originally listed on the agenda, they have been removed from today's agenda, and they include item number 2, the Padilla property abatement. That's been continued to January 16th of 2018 HO meeting, hearing officer meeting. Item number 4, the horse property abatement. That's been withdrawn because the property has been brought into compliance with city regulation. Item number 6, the Felix property abatement, has also been withdrawn because that property owner has had the property brought into compliance. And items 6 and 7 are both Miller and Prather properties abatements are also both withdrawn because those have been brought into compliance as well. My compliments to the city's compliance staff on these abatement cases in working with those property owners and successfully getting them into compliance. Much better outcome than having a hearing and the city getting involved. So pleased to announce those changes in the agenda today. If you're here for any of those items, they will not be heard today. As hearing officer, I reviewed carefully the City of Tempe Community Development Department report on each of the items that are considered at the meeting today, and I will use that report during our deliberations. Additionally, I've driven by each of the project sites that are on the agenda today so I can understand both the property conditions and the neighboring property conditions and character of the neighborhood, which is often important as well. Also, if you are an applicant or interested citizen, when your request is called on the agenda or when you wish to address the hearing officer, and you're welcome to do so, please step up to the microphone at the front of the room and state your name and city of residence. If you are someone other than the applicant and you wish to speak, that's also great. Please fill out a white speaker card, and those are sitting on the table next to the podium up front, and there's also some speaker cards in the back. That's if you're not someone other than the applicant and you would like to speak. You'll have about 3 minutes or so to speak. We should be pretty good on time today. Any person who is aggrieved by a decision of the hearing officer may file an appeal within 14 calendar days after the hearing officer has made a decision. As such, the deadline for filing appeal for any decisions made today is 3 p.m. January 3rd, 2018. That's 3 p.m. January 3rd, 2018. Appeals of a decision of the hearing officer are either heard by the Board of Adjustment or the Development Review Commission, whichever that body is appropriate to the type of case that's being appealed. And finally, in the case of an abatement, we don't have it on the agenda, but just for public information, if we had an abatement today, if the property owner failed to file an appeal or fails to bring property into compliance after that appeal period, the city goes out and abates the property as recommended. A couple introductions before we get started. Over to my right-hand side are some city staff members, including Steve Abrahamson. He's a principal planner with the city. Diane McGuire, our administrative assistant, and Lee Jimenez, a senior planner with the city as well. All right, let's jump on into the agenda. The first item we have is number 1. That is consideration of the minutes from the December 5th hearing officer meeting. I have reviewed those meeting minutes. They are an accurate reflection of the events at the meeting and the actions taken place, and they are hereby approved. Item number 2, as we mentioned, is not going to be heard today, so we're up to item number 3, which is the sole abatement case to be heard today. Contrary to my previous comment, This is a request to approve to abate public nuisance items at the Mink property. This is case CE 173883. The property is located at 1905 East Pebble Beach Drive. The applicant is the city. Mr. Glaub, welcome, and can we have your report?
Yes, sir. Good evening. May 1st of this year, my office received a complaint related to a dead palm tree at the property in question. I responded May 2nd of this year and observed that there was in fact a palm tree missing its top, while two neighboring palm trees had their tops on and were completely fine, it appeared. I mailed a notice to the property owner asking for the dead tree to be removed from the property. On June 5th of this year, I returned to the property and observed little to no change, so then I mailed a second notice to the property owner. On July 5th of this year, I returned to the property, observed little to no change, and then on July 6th, returned to and posted a notice to the structure itself. On August 4th of this year, I received a call from the owner. He stated that he agreed the tree was an issue, had financial hardships, was unable to address it himself. I offered him additional time to seek contractors and discuss what his options would be. I contacted him September 27th, reaching a voicemail. I asked for him to call me back with a response for how he was going to be addressing the tree. On September 29th, I had not heard back from him, so I issued him a citation for the dead tree. October 16th of this year, I observed little to no change at the property, so then I sought bids for abatement approval. And then November 9th, I returned to the property, observed no change, and posted a notice of intent to abate to the structure itself, then requesting a addition for tonight's hearing. I did respond to the property today and observed that the tree does appear to have not changed at all since May 1st, or I'm sorry, my May 2nd inspection. So at this moment in time, it's gone 6 months plus, being in violation of code, and I'm seeking approval for a 180-day open abatement period at the property.
Okay, thank you. And this case is a result of a complaint, presumably from a neighboring property owner.
That's correct, sir.
And this is a rather tall palm. So when the tall palm is topless, it's fair reasonably to assume that it's dead and there hasn't been any new growth. And I presume then that it has this danger of falling, and with its height would easily reach the neighbor's driveway, cars, and house, is what I was noticing. So I was wondering how the determination of its health and condition was made, but I understand. It's about 50 or 60 foot tall.
I would agree, sir.
Any contact recently with the property owner?
Aside from the one phone call where I did speak with him in August, and then my attempt at a voicemail in September,
But nothing since?
I've heard no response from him or no other discussion with him.
Okay. And I did drive by the property today and look at that tree, like I said, in the condition and its proximity to the neighbors, and understand. Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Glaub.
Thank you.
Is there anyone in the audience who'd like to speak on agenda item number 3? This is a an abatement for a public nuisance item at the Mink property, 1905 East Pebble Beach. Not seeing anyone here to represent the property or speak on the case. As I mentioned, I did drive by, observe the condition of this tree and its potential to cause some harm, and agree with the recommendation from staff, and do hereby approve an open 180-day abatement period for the Mink property. Thank you very much, staff. Okay, as we mentioned, items 4, 5, 6, and 7 were removed from today's agenda due to being brought into compliance. We'll go to agenda item number 8, which is a request for approval of a variance to reduce the required street side yard setback for the Minkner residence, PL 170367, located at 228 East 14th Street. Applicant is Tessa Jones of the factory. I see we go from the Mink's property to the Minkner property. How coincidental. Staff, could we have a report? Mr. Jimenez.
Good evening, Hearing Officer Williams. My name is Lee Jimenez. I'm a senior planner with the Community Development Department and the Planning Division. The Minkner residence the Meekner residence is located on Lot 16 of the University Park Addition subdivision, situated on the northwest corner of South Normal Avenue and East 14th Street in the R16 Single Family Residential District. The applicant, Tessa Jones Daly, is requesting a variance to reduce the required street side yard setback from 10 feet down to 0 feet for a detached accessory building consisting of a 2-car tandem garage, workshop, and game room. A neighborhood meeting was held at 5 p.m. on November 28, 2017, at the Meekner residence. 3 neighbors attended, along with the owners and their consultant. No opposition was received at the meeting. One attendee was appreciative of the owner's effort in keeping with the historic nature of the property. To date, no public input has been received directly by staff. However, the owner drafted a petition in support of the variance and collected over 15 signatures from nearby property owners. And based on the information provided by the applicant, the public input received, staff supports this request and believes that the application meets all the approval criteria for a variance and is subject to the conditions provided in the staff report. And I'll be available should you have any questions.
Thank you very much. All right. Okay, thank you, Mr. Jimenez. I don't have any questions at this time. We did discuss this case in some detail in the study session at 4:30, so I got some questions answered at that time. Is the property owner, applicant, or representative here? Come on up and welcome.
Thank you. My name is Tessa Jones Daly of the Factory, Tempe 85282, and I have the owner, Diane Meekner, with me.
Welcome.
Just state your name and the Tempe. Just say Diane Meekner, Tempe 85282.
I'm Diane Meekner. And what else?
Welcome, glad you're here. Any information you'd like to present
Yes,
or
yes,
any
okay.
questions you have, this is a good time for that.
Okay. Is the overhead on at all? Okay. Drawings, obviously.
I have, I've got them right here.
Okay. So the situation on the lot is for safety and security. This is the main house, and this is the northeast corner of the lot. And the dorms are right here, and they have grown in density in recent years. And the activity around the house, they have beer bottles, drugs, paraphernalia being thrown over their fence. When they park in their driveway, they are harassed by people at night. People urinate on their cars. It's just become something that's not an ideal situation. So they're wanting to have a garage they can pull into and come into their yard safely, and then also provide a gathering space for their large family, because they do have a small house and would like to have some get-together space, and then a workshop as well. We did provide some photographs of some of the debris that is in the yard, and just since that time, how many beer bottles are in your yard? Like 10 or so, just in a few
My
days.
husband walked out there today, and we haven't walked out there and surveyed, and he said at least a half a dozen beer bottles have shown up since the weekend.
They throw them over the wall
Yeah,
into the yard.
yeah.
6-foot wall?
It's
About
a little,
5 to
it's
6
a little
foot?
over that, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fun. We find all kinds of stuff back there.
So the owners have spent some extensive time reviewing this project with the neighbors, and they have, okay, so this is north. This is their house with the X here, and the check marks indicate all signatures and letters of support that we have provided. So there's 17 of those, and the dots they knocked on doors trying to at least share the information with people. So they've taken some effort to really discuss it. And people were very supportive of them. They went to a neighborhood gathering and also talked with all their neighbors about that, and again got more support, and people were very appreciative of what they're doing. We have reviewed all of the conditions of approval, and there's one that we do want to discuss with you. And that is number 6. And that was asking, originally we had put a storage closet within the bathroom. And that's, the concern of the city is that in the future, someone doesn't put bathing facilities in there. And we do understand that, and that is not their intention. So what we are proposing doing is removing that closet, moving the toilet over and putting in a standard size vanity instead of moving this wall this way, because then it keeps the workshop a normal space, keeps the powder room a normal size.
Yeah, wonderful.
So if you have any questions, I would
Excellent
like some
response.
further explanation about
Well, I do,
what
as a
they've
matter
gone
of fact.
through.
First of all, I'm very sensitive to the negative, the nuisance issues that you're suffering. I live in Tucson, actually, but have lived near the University of Arizona there and understand that people don't act civilized, unfortunately, all the time. So I am certainly sensitive to nuisance issues. Have you tried to employ assistance from TPD with, is it certain like Friday, Saturday night cycles? Outside of your variance requests, I'd like to see you get assistance with neighborhood management or whatever the right term is, and suggest you contact TPD, let them know it's recurring. And maybe it's every day, every night, and maybe they could roll by a little bit more to help you guys out. So just aside from the request tonight. And if you want to speak, you're welcome to come on up. So want to get you guys the help you need as, as part of our community. And we want the students to act like good community members too, of course.
Right, yes.
And we have your name for the record.
Jay Maechner. This is
Welcome.
my wife, Diane.
Welcome.
Thank you. Yes, I have stopped by the ASU police station a couple of times and spoken to their sergeants and lieutenants, and they say that they do the best they can with the situation, but it is an awful lot of students in a very small space. And the police report, which is online, there is a lot of calls that they go on, a lot of them in that building there. So they are doing it, but they can't be everywhere at one time. And I understand that, but
Right.
so we have been there a couple times.
Yeah, and I would just consider Tempe Police Department as an additional resource outside of the ASU guys and gals. Okay, thank you
They're
for,
actually just
thank you
north
for
of
that.
them
Appreciate
too.
it. Pardon?
And the Tempe Police, or the ASU Police Department is just north of them in that.
Oh, is it?
Yep.
And this is a dormitory versus a
Yes,
private
so
apartment
if you
They
development.
moved the fraternity into the dorm.
So this is their property. This is the ASU Police right here, just north. And these are the dorms.
Okay. Well, interesting. Okay. That was one kind of point of information, and I certainly understand the need for defensible space. It's sad that you have a pretty, solid wall in good condition, and it doesn't seem to deter folks from pitching stuff over into the yard. We talked about the guest quarters issues. You understand that, and you've redesigned it. And staff, I assume, any comment or concern about the redesign that's presented tonight, this evening?
No, hearing officer Williams, as revised, the plans look to be in conformance with the zoning and development code.
Thank you, Mr. Jimenez. Finally, too, there's supposed to be a sign in your front yard saying this is a public hearing. Notice for tonight.
He keeps taking it down.
What happened to your sign?
Coming down. We
Oh.
keep finding it in the bushes.
Oh, really? Mysteriously is there and then it's not there, or it's ripped down? Oh,
We haven't taken it down.
We have
can assure
driven
you.
by and assumed there was some stakes
Stakes
there.
with no sign.
And they said,
okay.
don't know.
The best thing to do then is you notify the city staff, the guys who posted it or ladies who posted it, and they'll, Help
We
with
knew the
maintenance.
neighborhood sign was there, that was there, but the others, we just
Good.
saw stakes. We didn't know there was a sign there other than an assumption.
Oh.
Because it was in a different spot than where the neighborhood sign was.
okay. Thank
Kind of a
you.
common thing that we have a lot of garbage, a lot of soda containers. It's a play area on weekends, that side.
That side of the street or that block?
Yeah.
Well, okay. Those are the questions I had. Let me see if there's anyone else who wants to speak, and I may need to ask you back up. And I will actually ask one of you to come back up after I do a call to the audience. Is there anyone in the audience, in fact, you can probably stay there. Anyone in the audience who wanted to speak on agenda item number 8, the variance request for the Minkner residence? Seeing there's no one here to speak on the case, this is a variance. There's some criteria I will review in making the decision. There are a list of conditions. Do you understand, have any questions about those conditions? We did discuss number 6. And how that is less applicable now. Still, the same regulation applies, is that the building can't be used as a guest quarters, and you are acknowledged and understand that. Any other questions or concerns with the conditions?
No?
Okay. Thank you very much, ladies. Appreciate you being here today. As mentioned, this is a recommendation for approval from staff. There's some criteria that I'm going to review for the record, if that's okay with staff. And that includes that special circumstances are applicable to the property, including its size, shape, topography, location, or surroundings. And I think we have already discussed the location and surroundings of this property, the direct proximity to the university, to the dormitories, and the nuisances that are going on certainly create special circumstances for this property. There's a loss of privacy, there's a view into this backyard, and so these concerns are clear to me for the record. Strict application of the code would deprive such property of privileges enjoyed by other property owners in the same district. Again, because of this direct adjacency to the dormitory, I feel this grant for the variance is certainly reasonable to try to give you the same enjoyment that other residents in your neighborhood have of their property that's similarly situated. Number 3, is this a grant of special privileges inconsistent with other properties in the neighborhood? The neighborhood was developed prior to the adoption of our zoning code, so it's a little bit of a different design or a different neighborhood than other newer ones in the city of Tempe. There's a lot of variations in the historic setbacks in your neighborhood that don't comply with our current codes. The city's pretty used to dealing with those. So we see this is a fairly common occurrence in this neighborhood, and approval of this variance, I think, is consistent with what we've been doing in this neighborhood for a long time. Finally, that the variance may not be granted if special circumstances to the property is self-imposed by the owner. I don't believe you guys contracted and built the dormitory and asked for all this activity and density adjacent to you, which unfortunately brings some nuisance and privacy issues. So I certainly think this criteria is easily met. Based on that, your request for variance is approved, subject to the conditions in the staff report. Modification to number 6 is discussed. Good luck with your project, and it's nice to meet you, and have good holidays. We're going to move on to agenda number 9, which is item number 9, which is a request for approval of a use permit standard to reduce the required front yard setback for the Roberts residence. This is PL 170. That's okay. PL 170 is 381. It's located at 147 East Secretariat Drive. The applicant's Dave Roberts. Mr. Jimenez, could we have a staff report, please?
Good evening. Once again, Lee Jimenez, Senior Planner with the Community Development Division, or Department, excuse me. The Roberts residence is located on Lot 44 of the Sunburst Farms Tempe subdivision, which is situated east of South McClintock Drive and south of East Secretariat Drive, or in the AG Agricultural District. The applicant, David Roberts, is requesting a use permit standard to reduce the required front yard setback for a new porch. The reduction is 6 feet. The required is 35 feet, and the reduction would get it down to 29 feet. To date, no public input has been received by staff, and based on the information provided by the applicant and the public input received, staff supports this request and believes the application meets all the approval criteria for a use permit standard, subject to the conditions provided in the staff report. And I'll be available should you have any questions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jimenez. I do not have any questions at this time. Is the applicant here or their representative, property owner representative? Come on down and welcome.
I am, thank you. My name is David Roberts, and I live at 1417 East Secretary Drive. So
Good to meet you.
nice to meet you.
Any questions you have or any information you'd like to present, this is the time.
No, other than I was pretty specific in my request for a 6-foot setback, but I realize you can get 7 feet or 20% of the 35 feet. And when I reviewed that with my wife after I had submitted it, she said, hey, why didn't you just go for 7 feet, So depending on how you feel about this, if you could approve up to 20% or the 7 feet, that would make it a lot easier for me as we go forward with this. Otherwise, I'd have to come back for another foot. So anyway, that's
Okay.
my
Any
extra
other
request.
information or other questions?
No,
There were some conditions in the staff report. Any concern about those or questions there
no,
on those two?
I'm good.
Okay. Well, you're welcome to grab a seat. If I need to speak to you again, I'll call you back up.
You're good. Thank
And
you.
You're welcome, and thank you for being here. Staff, are we okay with advertising and things like that if we approve this at 7 versus 6? Or 6 versus 7? 7 versus 6.
Hearing Officer Williams, according to the advertisement, the one that went to the newspaper and the postcards that were sent out, and the sign that was posted, we weren't specific as far as the specific reduction. It was just stated, and the blurb read that it was a use permit standard request to reduce the front yard setback for an open structure. So I think the advertisement speaks for itself as far as allowing for that 20% reduction as a maximum.
Yes.
So I mean, I would have no concern with that, and I would leave the discretion with you.
Okay, so that was intentionally brilliant. Thank you very much, staff. I appreciate that. And I do mean that in terms of your thinking ahead and what the request is versus putting yourself in a corner perhaps. And I do think it's important when we advertise that, someone who's interested in the case could find out, how big or how tall or how small this thing might be. And the way you advertised it certainly accomplished those purposes. This is a use permit request, and there's some 5 criteria to be addressed prior to any action or with any action on a case like this. And they include any significant increase in vehicular traffic or pedestrian traffic. I don't believe that the porch will cause anything negative in terms of traffic. Hopefully, it will promote some neighborliness and some interaction among neighbors. I think that's a great thing. Nuisance arising from emission of odor, dust, gas, noise, vibration. Other than the construction period, none of those nuisances are expected to arise with the addition of this covered porch, in my opinion. Contribution to the deterioration of the neighborhood or downgrading of property values, which would be in conflict with our policies for rehab and redevelopment. Certainly, the porch construction is an enhancement to the property. It's an investment in the property. And so it's quite the opposite. This contributes to the upward movement of the neighborhood and the property value. So this criteria is easily met as well. Compatibility with existing structures and uses. Certainly a covered porch fits in very well. That's been designed, in my opinion, to integrate with the existing architecture, roof lines, and materials as I can understand it from the drawings. And I think it's highly appropriate in this residential neighborhood with large lots, or any size lots, really. Number 5, adequate control of disruptive behavior inside and outside the premises. Now, if we have parties on the open front porch, we could have neighbor complaints, so I'm sure you'll invite them rather than have them report you. but no disruptive behavior is expected as a result of a granting of this use permit. Therefore, as such, this request for use permit standard modification for up to 20% of the required setback is approved, subject to the two conditions in the staff report. Thank you for being here, and good luck with your project.
Thank you very much.
Yes, have good holidays. Thank you. Okay, we're going to jump ahead to agenda item number 10, which is a request for approval of a use permit to allow a fitness center for Redemption Nutrition and Fitness. It's case PL 170310, located at 1625 West University Drive. It's in Suite 112, or to be there. The applicants are Devon Phillips and Itzel Ochoa. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Mr. Jimenez, can we have a staff report?
Good evening, once again, Lee Jimenez, Senior Planner. So as you are aware, this item was continued from the December 5th hearing. Redemption Nutrition and Fitness is proposing to operate in Suite 112 of the 1625 building of the Gateway University 2 Industrial Office Park subdivision, which is located on the southeast corner of West University Drive and South Edward Drive within the GID General Industrial District. Applicants Devon Phillips and Itzel Ochoa intend to provide a nutrition and fitness center facility, providing workouts and healthy meal replacement protein shakes. The business will operate Monday through Friday from 5 a.m. to 8 p.m. and Saturdays from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. To date, no public input has been received by staff, and based on the information provided by the applicant, the public input received, staff supports this request and believes that the application meets all the approval criteria for this use permit request, subject to the conditions provided in the staff report. And I'll be available should you have any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Jimenez. We've discussed this item as well as the study session this afternoon, and my questions have been answered, and thank you very much.
Okay.
Is the applicant here today, or representative? Come on up. Or down, I guess. Welcome.
Good evening.
Glad you're here.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
And get your name for the record?
Devon Phillips.
And Itzel Ochoa. You did
Great.
pronounce it
Do
right.
you guys have any questions about what's going on or have any information you want to present today?
No,
Okay, very good. Glad you made it. We missed you 2 weeks ago, but glad you're here tonight. I don't have any specific questions for you. I do have one question. There are 4 conditions of approval associated with your permit. Do you have any questions or concerns about those conditions?
Nope.
Excellent. Okay, you're welcome to have a seat. Thanks again. All righty, this is a use permit. As mentioned earlier, there's some criteria I need to run through before taking any action. And this includes, number 1, significant increase in vehicular pedestrian traffic. There will be, I expect, some increase, particularly in vehicular traffic with this use. It is the type of traffic that this center is designed for and should be able to accommodate readily. There should be enough parking. I would caution you, there is limited parking in this development, so be mindful in terms of what's available to your suite and that your customers have places to park. But I believe this is appropriate use regarding the vehicular and pedestrian traffic for the location. Number 2, nuisance from odor, dust, gas, noise, vibration, or heat that would be greater than what's going on in the neighborhood now. There may be noise with this use, but this to take place indoors, so I don't see any conflict with the other uses there or with any neighboring properties. Number 3, deterioration of the neighborhood or downgrading of property values. I think anytime we get a new business in a vacant space, that's a great thing, and that's an improvement, not a degradation, and that is what we want to see in the city of Tempe. So it's a good improvement to get our vacant spaces occupied. Number 4, compatibility with existing surrounding structures and uses. This is a business park or industrial park, and this type of use fits in with the other uses that are there, as I observed in my site visit today. Number 5, adequate control of disruptive behavior inside and outside of the premises, which may create a nuisance to the surrounding area or general public. As I've reviewed the materials in the packet, the application, and visited the site, the proposed uses do not appear and should not create any disruptive behavior inside or outside. If something like that were to happen, I'm sure we would discuss it further, but that's not anticipated, and this criteria is hereby met. The applicant understands there are 4 conditions of approval and has no questions or concerns regarding those. This request for use permit is approved subject to those 4 conditions, and good luck with your business. Yes, happy holidays. Okay, that is our last agenda item for the December 19th, 2017 meeting, and our last agenda item for 2017, for that matter. The next hearing officer meeting is on Tuesday, January 2nd, 2018. Mr. Abrahamson, any additional announcements or information you'd like to convey?
No, Hearing Officer McDonald, thank you for a good year of hearing officer meetings, and look forward to working with you in the coming year. Happy holidays.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Today's meeting is adjourned.